The house and unit divide. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Let's have a look at this article from news.com.au discussing, well, the great divide that we're seeing between housing and units. I think this is, well, becoming more and more evident. I'm just going to bring up some research right now from SQM Research. We can see, well, there you go. There's housing starting to climb up and there are units dividing down just in Sydney, the weekly asking property prices. And you can see that in most locales as well. So, is anyone surprised that there's going to be a divide between units and houses? I don't know if I'd ever want to buy a unit, to be honest. Probably because of my profession and just all the stories I've heard about construction issues around Australia in these things. You've got the flammable cladding, you've got all the concrete issues, you've got the subbies, you know, accidentally or on purpose cutting corners, and all these problems throughout the whole country, guys. I'd probably avoid anything built during the boom, you know, during the big boom that we had. So let's look at this. Australian property, how the country is witnessing a big house and unit divide. I asked yesterday, we did a video on just the crash in international students, and that's going to affect property around these university suburbs. I was asking the question, you know, how much would you go in for? And one viewer said, oh, probably under 100. Under 100, you might look at one. You know, maybe, I mean, long term, if you could live in it yourself, having a little, even just a one bedder in the city that you could sleep in. So you one of these green changes, you know, tree changes, and then you commute into the city every now and then. What if you I don't know, you go out maybe to Toowoomba, you come into Brisbane every now and you've got a little cheap little place that you could live in, a student accommodation. Honestly, I could see how that could be really useful if you're allowed to do it, if you're allowed to live in it. Maybe there's an idea, guys, flipping the student accommodation, dedicated ones to corporate bed sits kind of thing. What do you reckon? So let's have a look at this. Houses have clearly won the property stakes during the pandemic as home buyers and investors find financial comfort in bricks and mortars, but especially in land. However, especially since experts say units could make a comeback in 2021. Really? Is that just hopium? I mean, maybe it could. Maybe thanks to my brilliant idea of changing it into temporary accommodation for commuters. Throughout 2020, the volume of houses sold far outweighed unit transactions, and price growth for the property type also soared in many locations. The Real Estate Buyers Agent Association recently conducted the inaugural barometer survey, which showed that of respondents planning to invest in property in 2021, 49% were looking to purchase a house, while only 7% indicated a preference for units. I can't say I'm not surprised. Well, maybe that's just, well, you've got to understand my perspective. Middle-aged father with a huge family, don't want a unit. I've had to write a letter to my town planner because, I mean, we've designed our house so it's self-assessable. We don't need to go through council, the extension that we're doing. But because we have so many bedrooms, I've got to write a letter saying that we're not like turning it into a student accommodation. I've got 9 bedrooms, guys. You know, we've got 6 or 8 bedrooms for the kids and guests, which will probably be grandparents, and, you know, a master suite for us. So, yeah, you can probably see why you needed something like that. Maybe, you know, that's large families. It's a rare thing these days. The great house and unit divide. While it's not unusual that houses outsell units in terms of volume in a year, CoreLogic's data has shown that the share of houses as a proportion of sales had actually increased. House sales represent 74.2% of the total share in the year to January 2021, up from 73.2% a year ago and 66.7% 5 years ago. Eliza Owen, head of Australian research at CoreLogic, said over the coming months, that figure could rise to record heights. We're still collecting more house sales for 2020, and that may push the percentage up. In a few months' time, we'll get a really clear picture of just how popular houses have been, she said. The widening gap between houses and units can also be seen in terms of price. For people trying to upgrade from units into housing stock, that could be a greater challenge, especially in the short term. Why houses are king right now. The REBAA president, Kate Bakos, said houses are continuing to find favour with both home buyers and investors, which is fueling prices. We've seen surprising house price growth despite the pandemic, and we expect this to continue throughout this year as pent-up demand plays out. In the midst of a difficult year combined with an overall stock shortage, it's evident that buyer frustration is high, she said, adding that both investors and home buyers were seeking a space as families and investors compete for the same stock. So, there you go. It's become really hard to get your hands on anything with 3 or more bedrooms. Property investors are seeing the potential of manufacturing capital growth in the current market, with almost a quarter of respondents looking for a property with renovation potential. Well, okay, renovation potential. Could that also be doing my trick, buying a dump and then extending it? Trying to find something cheaper? And my understanding is most of the loans are going to owner-occupiers. And a lot of first-home buyers are they're juicing up the market. Investors seem to have dropped off entirely. The Home Builder Initiative, there you go, government intervention, has been another key driver in house demand. Residential construction grew at its fastest pace in 2.5 years, with the HIA figures reporting new home sales in the December 2020 quarter were almost 100% higher than in December 2019. Ms. Owen said the scheme's tight timeframes for eligibility was another trick in favour of houses. This meant the take-up of the scheme was largely used for detached houses rather than off-the-plan unit sales, with the latter requiring a number of purchaser commitments before projects commence, she said. I don't know, guys. I've lost all desire in units now. I prefer houses more and more. So low levels of investor lending was also a reason houses came to the fore. Their absence in the unit market has left an impact. Over 2020, the average value lent to investors for the purchase of a property was 22.7% below the monthly average in the past decade. I told you guys, investors are flooding out. So how units might make a comeback. This will be interesting. How is it going to make a comeback? She pointed out that in 2021, could see buyer behavior shift if affordability became an issue. Now, would you want to get a unit as your first house? With all of these issues that we've had in the construction industry, with the fact that government is just propping up houses, international students is non-existent, migration is dead, population growth, well, like maybe it's your first shot, but then you're competing with everyone else in the building. It could be a nightmare. How often do you hear of nightmares in units compared to nightmares in houses? Sure, there's some houses, usually it's to do with the ground. You still got the land though, guys. We're coming into a different market now than we were for most of 2020, where buyer activity is increasing and housing markets are sitting at record highs in a lot of cases. I wonder if those impending affordability constraints will have people looking to more affordable stock like units. Ms. Bakos said first-home buyers could take advantage of the current state of the unit market. People might say they're after a 3-bedroom because it gives young professional couples a dedicated study each, or a study in a separate room. But if you really have to compromise, then having a 2-bedroom unit is a very workable possibility for first-time buyers. But then you've got all the costs associated with units as well. Not if you went to Opal, or not if you went to Mascot for a first-home buyer, no. Or that guy who bought one in Darwin that just leaked everywhere. I think the appeal of 3-bedroom houses will fade a little bit if we keep the pandemic under control. But as long as the threat of working from home continues, like forced lockdowns, houses with at least 3 bedrooms will remain high on people's lists, she said. Wonder how houses with 8 bedrooms will go. So there we have it, everyone. The continuing divide between houses and units. Would you even look at a unit for your first home? Let me know, guys. Maybe I'm just too biased because of everything I've seen and too bitter and old. That could very well be true. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I cobble together here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. You can also join MeetRx or SelfWealth and help us those ways. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.